With the holidays approaching, I'm going to teach you some tricks on how to host people in your house, even if you have a really small house. My name is 𝐂𝐎𝐋𝐿 and this is the 𝐋𝐈𝐍𝐿 Legacy, where I'm normally teaching all things produce and meal planning, but today we're going to be talking about having some friends over. So we actually live in a pretty small house. We have a living room and a kitchen, and there's no other entertaining spaces in our house. One year when we were hosting Thanksgiving, we actually moved our bed out of our bedroom to make space for a table. We love having family and friends over all year long, but in the wintertime, we normally decide to kind of cut that back a little bit because it seems like it's so much work. In the summertime, we can just have parties out by the garden and it's a lot of fun. But during the fall and winter, especially living in the Seattle area, we have to plan for rain, and that means everybody has to be inside our tiny living room and kitchen. With our house being so small, we make sure whenever we get furniture, it can be very versatile and we can move it around. So we have, instead of a couch and a love seat, we have club chairs that can be moved in different areas of the house and easily make room for things like a table. So this table folds up where I can actually sit it just being a person of one and sit at it and use it as a desk, or it actually opens all the way up to seat 12 people. Normally, whenever we host something, I try to set up the table the night before the event, so I know that we have all the heavy lifting done and it's one less thing I have to worry about the day of the event. Mike was even acting a little goofy when we were filming this, and he was messing around on the bench and here on top of the tables. I love having the bench so you can have a little bit of flexible seating for whoever's coming, because you never know if you're going to have a bunch of little kids that are coming or an extra adult that throws off your whole tablescape. So I try to keep setting a table as easy as possible, especially when you're doing it for the holidays. I don't believe in making a ton of extra work for you. Oftentimes, I will honestly just go outside and grab some branches off of my cedar tree, especially for a Christmas dinner, and just drape them across the table. It's super easy. You probably have something in your landscape that you can use. Another thing that I like to do, especially for Thanksgiving, is just to throw a couple gourds on the table, and we can move them off the table really easily when we go to set down the turkey or set down the sides. But I like to be able to see easily my guests across the table and not stress so much about making the centerpieces elaborate. When you're planning for a big holiday event too, kind of think ahead whether or not you're going to have your guests line up and dish up their plates in the kitchen and bring them over to the table, or if you are going to use serving platters and move them around the table. If you are using serving platters, make sure that you're leaving enough space in between the guests so they can set those items down. Now, we are a family that normally uses our formal china for any kind of holiday events, but whatever you're using for your place setting, today we're just going to set the table with my regular white dinner dishes that we normally use. But make sure that you set up a plan for washing those dishes after the holidays. So we normally try to make sure that we get everything rinsed off and set aside so we can easily wash it a little bit later and still visit with our guests while they're here. Make sure that you check out our holiday playlist that has all of my Thanksgiving recipes, and we're going to be adding to that list every year. All right, we're going to talk about setting your place settings just really quickly. Today we are just using paper napkins that I folded, but I normally try not to set out any extra silverware that we're not going to be using or extra glasses that we're not going to be using. So it saves washing dishes later. The other thing is I have all of my silverware here. This is just our everyday black silverware that I think is really cool. But we are going to be using a salad fork and then a dinner fork. And when you lay those on the napkin, you want to put them on the left-hand side, and the dinner fork goes closest to the plate and the salad fork goes on the outside. So the salad fork is the first thing that you grab, and so it's on the outside of the napkin is how I always remember it. And I always think of Julia Roberts in Pretty Woman when she is getting taught the lesson on where the silverware is supposed to go. And then on the right side of the plate, I will do the knife, and I always have the blade facing the plate. And then today we are only using a teaspoon. We don't need a soup spoon and a teaspoon. So you just kind of do it in the order that you think that they're going to be using. So a teaspoon can be used for like coffee too. If you were serving soup as one of the courses that you are serving, then you would put the soup spoon down. But if not, you should still always have a teaspoon on your place setting. So it's going to go salad, fork, then the dinner fork on the left-hand side, and on the right-hand side is your knife and your teaspoon. And then up here in the right-hand corner, you're going to put whatever glass they're using. Today we're using like old-fashioned glasses or wine glasses is what we're putting up there. And you can also add a water glass up there also if you want water on the table. And to cut down on glassware, I normally ask my guests as they're coming in what they want to drink, and then I will fill those glasses up so we don't have a ton of extra glasses on the table. So we did put down salad plates. They're the smaller plates that are on top. We'll be serving salad as the first course. They'll use their salad knife on the far left-hand side. And then when that is done, we just move them all to the side and stack them in the kitchen, and then they have their dinner plate right underneath. A lot of people like to also set a bread plate or a dessert plate on top because it looks pretty having them all stacked, but there's nowhere on the table to actually set all of these different plates when you are sitting down to eat the meal. So I just normally keep it to a dinner plate and a salad plate. So I just put the cedar branches down, and then I had some thyme and rosemary that I just added into the greenery, and it smells amazing. And especially as you're laying plates on it, it will just keep becoming more fragrant. So kind of think about the different landscape items that you might have outside that you can just bring in and fill up your table. It doesn't have to have much thought to it. I just grabbed some fresh flowers that I had outside. I didn't even bother with vases. I just cut them off and set them on top of the greenery. Hosting doesn't have to be stressful. Just some of these tips make it a lot easier, and you don't have to stress about it. At the end of the day, it can just easily be cleaned up and tossed away.